Flight boss, bitch, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of an Terry Smooth. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucker responsibilities. And we're going to talk about right brain versus left brain. People. Now, I hate to even put verses in the middle of that because, there's a lot of intellect or there's a lot of science that's been pushed out into the world that'll kind of give you the impression that, especially in the conscious community, it'll give you the impression that being too left brain is a bad thing. And then on the flip side, there's other sciences that'll kind of give you the impression that being too right brain will lead you down a chaotic path also. But what you need to understand that these are just two energy signatures, and you need to bring these two together because it's almost like you bringing your masculine and your feminine energies together when you bring your left and your right brain natures together. And the left brain will be correlated to the masculine, and the right brain will be correlated to the feminine. But from a 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional aspect, y'all know that's where I come from, so I like to break that area down. See, it's easy to come across people teaching shit of just telling you what something is based upon how they learned about it, but it's a difference when you come on a person's page like mine and you hear the actual process in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, how shit even get accumulated before y'all even look at it physically. And you know what I'm saying? And that's what the fuck I'm here for. So for the most part, let's break this down. Because just to get to the 3rd dimension, right, you coming from a zero circumference, a space. So you need to know your space is your spirit. You should have said your space is your spirit. So if you are in an overall space, you're within a spiritual being, right? So this zero circumference, like to get to the 3rd dimension, you had to take a bunch of different shapes and forms that was one-dimensional, which will be all the shapes and forms and thought concepts that come from the male figure, which will be your father. Then you have to take all the shapes and physical forms and accumulate things when you get into the 2-dimensional realm. You have to take all those shapes and forms of lights, and that will be what you look at as the receiving end, or the mother aspect, or body fluids and things of that nature. And then you get to come out 3rd dimensional wise. You're ready to come out in a 3rd dimensional physical shape and form. But as your spirit, you have no shape and form. You are no thing, no shape and form. You're just going traveling astral wise based upon what you resonate with due to your state of being. So understand that, right? So and this is how you get to all the dimensions in general. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about now you're in a space. So this space by default, this 360 space, this spiritual being by default got two sides to it by default. So y'all call it masculine and feminine because y'all are just trying to trap or understand how an energy signature is playing out 3rd dimensional wise. But this energy signature is beyond this horizon. It play out through all dimensions. But the only way to understand it here is that's why we give things words, titles, signs, sigils, and symbols. You see what I'm saying? So we can understand how it's playing out here. And we can give it a meaning and reason and how it's playing out in the 3rd dimension wise. Now, when we talk about these two sides, by default, the spiritual being is going to have two sides. So, the spirit, now, you need to know that within a space, you start to vortex and you create a bunch of different shapes and forms. Light, star, gases, bacteria, whatever y'all want to call it. But within your space, your state of being, you start to vortex and start to create a bunch of different shapes and forms to go into as a vessel to be aware of yourself. So you can look at it like space being aware of itself. Because your spirit is your space. So to be aware of yourself, you're creating a bunch of different shapes and forms. So if you're within a space, you're within a spiritual being, it have already created a bunch of different shapes and forms that you can see externally outside of you. Or you wouldn't be able to see it. So you are within a space that have been here, predated you, and you have followed this spirit here. So for the most part, this spirit have already created a bunch of different shapes and forms in order to be aware of itself here. So the smaller the shape and form that this spirit creates, this space creates, other many spirits, aka spirits like you, could take those vessels to keep the organ, aka organization of this being running. For this being could become more and more and more expansive. So for the most part, this is what you are right now. You see what I'm saying? So you just got a system of spirits following another spirit, and a spirit just went into an astral travel or a space and location before the spirits that's following it. So that spirit will be seen as the more experienced one. Now let's get back to the right and left brain shit. Now, like for example, now since the dimension y'all in right now, you got space within space, right? So you got a bunch of spirits coming in. Now, like I said, everything in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension work like a wave, a frequency wave. So look, they come in, right? These spirits come in. Boom, that created a vortex because we're all interacting. That's space spirits. Space within space. All our spirits within this overall space right now. So boom, we come in, and that created a vortex, and automatically by default, that emitted something. That vortex we emitted was like an imagination, aka now it's like a light spectrum, or in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, y'all want to write it down in the third dimension as suns or stars or something like that. But for the most part, we're just pushing out. So that by default creates the masculine energy. And now our forceful vortex or our energy signature can be seen in some way, shape, or form. Now we created a vessel. So now by default as spirits, boom, we come in from this way, and then once we emit, we're creating gems and stars that come to the left. Now automatically the shapes and forms of the stars and by default is on the left side, and by it being on the left side, by it being pushed out, it's actually seen now. You know what I'm saying? Those things are seen. So now it's quote unquote yang masculine version, and by default it's on the left side. Now everything is expansion and contraction, so it moves like in waves. This is why you always gravitate towards something you don't have. So look at that as when you're looking at water settle flow. Water always goes into a space that it ain't in yet. So for the most part, this is why third dimensional wise, you always pay attention to the shit you don't have. That's in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension. Your spirit moving into a space that you ain't been in yet. For an example, if you have a whole bunch of money, you're gonna start paying attention to shit that ain't got nothing to do with your money, your profit. And vice versa. If you're a broke ass motherfucker, you're gonna start paying attention to a whole bunch of shit that don't have anything to do with being broke. You're gonna go somewhere and try to do something to get money. You see what I'm saying? So you're constantly moving into a space that you ain't moved into yet by default. And in the third dimension, y'all just calling it other shit. Y'all call it habits, or y'all call it wanting something, or y'all call it goals or something like that. But for the most part, or whatever y'all want to call it down here. But now, as we moved in from the right side by default as spirits, boom, emit something out. Now that shape and form come in by default from the left side and can be seen. Then it goes in. It's like a vortex now. Now the masculine versions go back into the right, or go back into the womb, however y'all want to call it down here. But really it's just by default going back to the right. Boom. Then now it can accumulate a masculine looking version of a feminine body. And then boom, now it goes back and it keep doing that. And this is why y'all get the concept of masculine, feminine, Aries, Taurus, you know what I'm saying? Gemini, Cancer, you know what I'm saying? That ain't nothing but fire, earth, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, fire, earth, air, water, you know what I'm saying? That ain't nothing but masculine, feminine, you know what I'm saying? So we come in as a space, create a shape and form that we can go into as a space. All the stars and the shit that got accumulated out of it came from the left side. Boom, we take those as a vessel. Now we move back in because you can't go far out stretch because it's all about expansion and contraction. So boom, then those come back in this way, then they come back in this way, and then y'all look at it that third dimensional wise as that being rotations. You know what I'm saying? Like different spiral rotations of conscious waters and shit like that. But fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional wise, that's just us moving like this. We're moving in a wave. But y'all smaller vessels, so y'all just down here, y'all look at that shit like it's, you know what I'm saying? But shit, it's just a movement, fluid, being relative. You know what I'm saying? Like water, you know? Now, here's the thing now. You got all those shapes and forms that got created out of the left hemisphere, and now once that went back to the right, bunch of shapes and forms got light attracted and they created shit from the right hemisphere. So now you got masculine and feminine vehicles to be aware of yourself. So now here's the thing. When we talk about your right hemisphere energies, you're thinking about your feelings, your emotions, you know what I'm saying? Things that tap you into the subconscious realm, the things that tap you more into the things that you resonate with, the things that remind you of the things that your true state of being is in. So this is since you could think about it, this is letting you know these are shapes and forms, but these shapes or forms are a little bit more internal than the outer layers, than the more conscious ones, the external yang ones. You know what I'm saying? But don't get lost into saying that these ones is actually your spirit too. You see what I'm saying? It's real easy to get lost. These are just your feminine nature bodies. So a lot of these planetary or these vehicles or these vessels is more transparent based upon the plane of existence y'all are in at the moment, the dimension, third dimension realm. A lot of that shit is going to be hard to be seen. But in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, I can see that shit. Y'all feelings and emotions be flying around like clouds. But it's y'all really supposed to utilize that shit for a spaceship and shit. But a lot of y'all is just be flying careless and reckless. You know what I'm saying? A lot, like all y'all down here, fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional wise are like Pisces. All y'all clouds is scattered. Like all y'all as a generation is Pisces. From a fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional aspect being looking at things. Like that's how I look at things. Like I know a lot of y'all might think like, oh no, I'm an Aries, or no, I'm a Leo, or no, I'm a fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional wise, all y'all spirits is Pisces. I only seen a little bit of a Aquarius spirits that came out of that space down here at the moment. A lot of y'all are just experiencing a kind of new time that y'all think y'all can see that's coming based upon the light coming here late. That's another video though. This is a whole nother video. I don't even want to get into that with this one. But like I said, when we talk about the masculine and feminine sides, you got two natures to you now. Now, how you could decipher this, right? Since you got born through the filtering of this groupings of light, this solar system, within this spiritual being, right? Then this spiritual being, its masculine and feminine bodies, we can kind of correlate this when we start to understand astrology, right? So understand astrology is the body of the being we are in. That's astrology. You see what I'm saying? The being, the body, and the understanding the positions and the locations. You know what I'm saying? That's how we calculate it. You know what I'm saying? This is the highest science when we talk about trying to calculate and understand which each area and pieces of the body was actually going on and how things is correlating. So when we talk, yeah, so dealing with those astrological energies here in actual order, it would play out like as a spirit or a space coming out of the room or the womb or a moon coming from the space and the location of where y'all think Virgo at right now. Boom, it pushed out. Then the masculine energy. Then it comes to Leo, Cancer, Gemini, Taurus, Aries, Pisces, and that's the actual order. And if you understand astrology, you will know that I ain't said nothing else but masculine, feminine, because it come out of the womb or the room or the space and location of where Virgo was at, which will be the feminine energy, the feminine version of Earth, which is why the moon actually loves being in Virgo. Also, people don't understand. But for the most part, they're creating that masculine shape and form, which will be the sun. This is why the sun rules Leo. But then this is us creating the Leo constellations. That's blood cells and things of that nature during that period of time, or the gold age, or whatever the fuck y'all want to call it. Then y'all look at the pyramids and shit. But for the most part, boom, that went into fire. You know what I'm saying? Then it came out as fire. So fire was seen first, but fire comes from a space. Y'all need to know. And it came from the feminine, feminine energy. But y'all don't need to, quote unquote, try to tie that to females and women. You know what I'm saying? Feminine energy is a characteristics. Pardon me. But for the most part, boom. But then it come into fire, masculine. Boom, go into water, feminine. Boom, go to air, Gemini, masculine. Boom, go to Taurus, back to feminine. And then boom, Taurus is the fixated foundation and the grounding and the foundation of which I'll be trying to call Earth. But really, that age is just the shaping, the forming, stability of even having a foundation that you can walk on based upon all the elements mixing together and shit like that. You see what I'm saying? Then you get motherfucking the age of Aries. We start creating the goddamn brain. And we started creating the conscious bodies to make us see things externally. So this is where we get a lot of forceful yang. And this is why we call Aries the first sign, which is not the first. It's not the first sign. It's just that was the period of time we created our first vehicles that we can see externally. We created the brain and shit. in that time period. And then once we created the eyes and shit, boom, we created what we can see internally, externally. So that would be the first time we can the yang realm, basically. So that's where you get that concept from. And then after Aries, you get Pisces, and you know what I'm saying. Then that's the age of Pisces. Now we could be like I am, because we are aware of shit from the age of Aries. So we like I am. You can see the shit now, and now the shit that you can see, you can believe it. You know what I'm saying? Now that you believe it, that's the age of Pisces that we're all going through. That we was currently now. You know what I'm saying? Now everybody believe what the fuck they see, and that's gonna come out into a whole bunch of indoctrinations and shit like that. But slowly but surely, everybody getting into the age of Aquarius. That's gonna be the age that everybody start to know. They start to know what they believed. You know what I'm saying? And it's a big thin line between knowing and believing. And that's going to be the big mental fucks for everybody who may have been lost in indoctrinations, or that's going to be the big mental freedom for everybody who been believing in the right things. And once they start to get to know, they're going to start to know that they was right the whole time. And then you're going to get into the age of Capricorn, which we get back to an earthly stage, more statues, more formulations and things of that nature is going to be made. More people going to want to be seen as the status of this realm that we are in, and things of that nature. And that a lot of the spiritual shit is going to go out the window, and people are going to be the actual physical shapes and forms of whatever spiritual nature. And that's when y'all really going to be in the fourth, fifth, or sixth dimension for real, as being able to explain shit and know that you're not in the third dimension anymore and shit like that. The same way you can explain shit in the third dimension and know you ain't in the second or the first dimension anymore. But you're smart enough to know that it takes the one and the second dimension together to develop into the third dimension to even have that perception. But shit goes even beyond that. But understanding shit like this, you will be able to understand how things correlate. Now, when we start to talk about your stars, your planet, your solar system, now you can start to size up how many stars you have on the right brain spectrum and how many you have on the left brain spectrum. Now, here's the thing going on right now, right? Because fire plays out as masculine, fire and air plays out as masculine, and earth and water plays out as feminine. And reason why they share things, because you're in a dimension that is so multitude of things that things is blended in and mixed. Like all of them share things together at this point. So how low people are vibrating down in this dimension, because this dimension is low itself. But for the most part, once you jump into the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, right, things get a little bit more less. It's less dense. So it's less adding. You know what I'm saying? It's more about the art of deduction. It's more about subtracting. So from a right and left brain hemisphere, the fire and water itself comes from the right. And the air and the earth comes from the left. See what I'm saying? So, like I said, I was trying to explain to y'all in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, your masculine version has a yin and yang, and your feminine version has a yin and yang. So, when we talk about fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional aspect rise, your right brain itself has a yang and a yin, has a masculine and a feminine. So, your right brain, the right brain hemisphere masculine version is fire. The right brain feminine version is water. The left brain masculine version is air. The left brain feminine version is earth. See what I'm saying? And if you understand how feminine energies play out and how masculine energies play out, you'll be able to make sense out of that. You know what I'm saying? So this is why fire represents expressing what's going on internally. This is why water soak in and try to experience what's going on internally. You see what I'm saying? And then when you get on the left hemisphere, air likes to express communicating and what's going on in the yang realm and what's logically and rational. Earth signs like to perceive what's going on externally and make sense and practicalize what's going on externally. You see what I'm saying? So that's how you understand the two natures. Now, if you have more stars and fire or water than earth or air, you will be a right brain person. If you have more stars in the left hemisphere, which if you have more stars, quote unquote, the sun, moon, Mercury, or whatever like that, your ascendant, if you have a lot of these in air or earth, then you are a left brain person. Now, if the majority of your planets is in water, then you play out as a feminine right brain person. If the majority of your planets is in fire, you play out as a masculine version of a right brain person. If the majority of your planets is in I didn't say air, did I? I meant to say fire. Now, if the majority of your planets is in air, you play out the masculine version of the left brain side. If the majority of your planets is in earth, you play out the feminine version of the left brain side. So I hope I didn't say air. Like I said, on the right brain, the masculine version of the right brain will be the fire. I hope I didn't say air. All right, now, so this is how you understand if you are a right or left brain person. Now, it's a gift and a curse to everything. What this means and what it only means is how you receive the frequency vibrations of the realm that you are in. So if you are more of a left brain person, then you receive energies from the mental first, from the thought form first. You know what I'm saying? If you are a right brain person, then you receive the energies from the outside world from the emotions first, from the feelings first. So a right brain person shit affect your feelings first. A left brain person shit affects your brain first, your thoughts first, your concepts first. You know what I'm saying? So a left brain person will be first to be like, get out of your feelings. Because everything that hit them externally hit their mind first. So when they're around other people that hit a lot of their shit from their emotions first, the left brain person may not understand it. Because the way they deal with all the receiving in the world is they deal with it mentally. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times when they feel certain ways, they try to logically understand why they feel this way. You know? Now on the flip side, heavy right brain people receive everything internally first. They receive everything emotionally and feeling wise first. You know what I'm saying? See, the left brain people receive everything externally first. Right brain people receive everything internally first. So a fire or water heavy person, right? They receive shit from the feelings. So then they like, damn, why the fuck is I'm feeling like this? Then they have to think. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times the water and the fire, the right brain people, they will act before thinking. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times you get affected with your feelings and emotions and what you resonate with first. And it's the feeling of the shit first. So the fire sign will feel something and express it. Water sign will feel something, manipulate it. You know what I'm saying? Or sometimes it depends on their other alignments. They be just expressive with it also. You know what I'm saying? But that's how you got to keep it in mind. It's all about receiving. So a heavy right brain person will be around a left brain person like they might think too much. You know what I'm saying? A right brain person might just want to be in something based upon a feeling. Now that feeling may not be logical to the left brain person. So the right brain person will be like, man, you fucking up the party. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, the right brain person to tell the left brain person, then you fucking up the party. So, or you're a party downer. So it plays out this in different scenarios, but there's no good or bad to neither one. It's just if you're a left brain person, you receive the frequency vibrations from the external world, you receive it externally first. You receive it outerly first. You know what I'm saying? You receive it mentally to your thought forms first. And in the right brain people, you receive it internally first. It affects you first. You see the feeling of it first. So this is why right brain people are more aware of things that doesn't deal with the language or what's being, or body language or words or logic that's being thrown across. But a lot of times it may be harder for them to express what they actually see. But this is what makes them creative also. Then on the flip side, left brain people, you know what I'm saying, a lot of times they can logically put things into words, or they can logically tell you your problems. And a lot of times they can help people who are too right brain, because a person who's right brain can't find the right words or find the right thing to do to get their life straight. And then as the left brain person could logically make something out of, you know what I'm saying, out of the emotions and feelings, and be like, boom, 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 boom. If you do this, and everything will be all right. And it'll get a right brain person a sense of, okay, yeah, I don't need to be that deep. I don't need to be that deep in my feelings. You see what I'm saying? So it worked out in a bunch of different scenarios, but there's a gift and a curse to all scenarios, and y'all can break that shit down. But Flight Boss, bitch, goddamn air,